Okay, so this is my first time doing a video for beading for public consumption, and I get asked, so I'm gonna start with something super beginner level, but that actually is kind of fun to make and certainly impresses a lot of people, which is kind of fun because you can get to that impressive stage pretty quickly. Now, I think my how-to beaded flower videos might be a little bit different. We're gonna go sort of the Bob Ross school of art videos, which means I'm gonna show you what works for me. You can take it or leave it, you can adapt it, do whatever you want to. Remember, you're finding your way and your way you want to express things. Now we're gonna start with a basic spider mum, spider chrysanthemum. Can I say it right? Now, this is gonna be like super low tech video too, by the way. So every book, every maker, every person who designs any way of beaded flowers has a chrysanthemum design or 800. I have probably 5 and 3 that I really use a lot. Now, here's the deal though. For me, the reason why didn't I just use one that was already written? Why reinvent the wheel? Well, they're all good and they're all different and they're all relative to who made them, what they like. For me, for the spider mum, I was really looking for this kind of ratio with a lot of spidery thin ones on the edge and a denser middle. And I was always kind of looking for that exact ratio. And to be honest, no one else kind of had it that was close, but it just wasn't quite what I was looking for. So I ended up doing my own. And so I'm going to show you my ratio that gives me something that looks kind of like this. And I'll show you some examples in a second. But I just like this black and white because it really, because mums come in so many shapes and sizes and petals, all kinds of things. Even just the spider mums. But this was kind of what I was going for. I was trying to look for one, because I was looking for like the Japanese style. Something like this, right? The Japanese watercolor or Japanese silks. Sort of denser in the middle and a lot of just kind of doing their own thing, spidery ones out in the edge. So, but I like this black and white when it shows it well. And so I actually have 2 spider mum ones that I go to a lot. So I have this kind of more intense one that involves needles and all kinds of things. And so I did one that was, this is kind of a bigger one. I'm showing you kind of the other option before I show you the one we're gonna do today. This one I actually painted, so you can see sort of the blue and, the green, and then it goes to a cream and a pink. So I call it a Neapolitan, even though that would be chocolate, but anyhow, you get it. They were all originally this bead, and I used some alcohol inks on them and gave it a little bit more of a flair. So this one, I just had around because I haven't put it in the arrangement it's waiting for yet. So that's an example of a really spidery mum where we do these single tendrils, right? And they're finished with needle twists at the end. And definitely a more advanced one just because it's just pickier. Just pickier. It's more advanced because of that. That's what I'd call more advanced. Who knows what's more advanced. So that would be one, right? And then the other thing, there's football mums, and those are the wide petal mums. And so these were meant for short. So these are my standard, and these are actually fairly easy to do also, but they involve even more techniques than what I'm going to show you today. So this would be like your standard football mum. They used to be called with a wider, I call them wide petal mums. And so I like them fluffy. And again, I have a pattern for these, and a lot of people do. I just was looking for a certain ratio. Like I'm always looking for like, how are they going to build out? Like what is going to be like the height versus the width, and how thick are they going to be? How like dense, how much can I mess with them? I'm going to pull things out, push them around, So again, not reinventing the wheel, just finding the ratio that works for me. You find the ratio that works for you. I'm going to show you the easy spider mum that gets you one that looks like this and that people really like. And in fact, let me see. Oh, I have one more of my football mums. These were supposed to go in a short arrangement, so I chopped them off too short. I'm gonna have to figure that out later. So this one has a teal in it, and each of these are 5 or 6 different bead colors. You can really see the bead colors in this one, but even in this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bead colors. And I don't have enough hands to show you in this one. So I like to do a lot of shading, but you don't have to. I'm going to show you a spider mum pattern today that is sure to impress. And in fact, before I went and kind of sold in sort of more of a gallery situation, whatever, I did a couple of art shows. And the very first one at this kind of big art show that sold was an arrangement that was all this particular pattern that I'm about to show you. Now here's 3 of the pattern we're going to do today, finally. Which again, remember we're aiming for this guy right here. Looks like these. So there's 3 here. So the first big arrangement I ever sold was a huge arrangement of all these, and it was this nicer older lady who came by, and she had done it with her grandmother when she was young, so decades and decades ago. And so she just, I don't know, really brought her back to that time, which was awesome. So this is what we're gonna do today. We're gonna do this simple one. Now let me pick one. I love this combo, but I love this combo. It's a weird one. I like this sort of vintage colors that kind of look like faded botanical prints, but maybe it's better to show you this one actually, because it's a little brighter for the camera. I'm not sure. So again, what I was going for with these is I'm looking for this sort of ratio, this tighter middle, and then tendrils on the outside, and just the right amount so that you can pull them out and shape them and do all different kinds of things with them. Now this is an easy one. It takes a bunch of beads, especially for the outer row. And these are normally I do 4 colors each. Now I'm gonna do 4 color one today, but you can do 1 color. You could do more colors, I guess. I don't know why I'd want to, but I mean, you could. I mean, just because at some point it's diminishing returns, all right, in terms of effort versus how it ends up looking. But this one, you can see this first petal here. This is my first unit or group we're gonna do. Then there's the second group we're gonna do here, and then third, and then fourth. And so 4 different colors, and they're very simple, so it's gonna be a fast video because it's a lot of repetition, but they do a lot of fun things. And then we'll talk about how to make the calyx and the leaves also. Now leaves, again, you choose your way. What's fun about these is just how much fun it is to shape them. You know, you can do all kinds of crazy little things with them, make them look all wispy on one side. I can't see what it looks like looking straight down right now. I sure hope it's focusing. I'm gonna bend that stem wire so they're still, so you can just pull them out and do all kinds of fun things with them. You can do them in, I've done them in matte transparents. These are obviously color lined with different outer, sometimes mostly, I think this one's mostly crystal outer. No, that's a topaz outer, I think, right there. But inside color lined, you know, so they get the glistening. I don't have any right now that are just matte transparent. I mean, the one I showed you, the other Spider-Mom one, was a matte transparent. But these work with anything. I mean, you can do anything. You can do any kind of color combos. Now, so today this is what we're going for. We're gonna make this guy here. And again, they're not hard, but they're kind of fun to look at, and people seem to be pretty impressed with them, which is kind of cool, because they're not hard to make. So you can do them right away and have a really cool arrangement. And you can put a bunch of them together. You can put more leaves. You can add other kinds of flowers in them. You know, they look good together. So we're gonna do it with 4 different colors. But again, if you want to do just 1 color, just to get used to it, go right ahead. So one of my favorite sort of color, so I'm always looking for colors that sort of make a nice gradation, right? Like we can see that in how they're working, just looking for colors that go well together. You want them to be sometimes enough different so that you see it, but almost a subtle difference. This one, you know, I mean, you definitely see it, but you can also see how they match, right? Even though this outer one, if you look at it separately, is kind of like a weird brown color. It's one of my favorite beads. It's such a weird bead. Whenever I order it from my local bead store, and she's so awesome, she just, you know, gives me everything wholesale, and it's great. So I have to order a lot at a time just to make it work, you know. So anyhow, she always laughs at this one because she's like, that's such a weird bead color. I have to bring it in and show her in the flowers, but when she sees it in the bag, she's just like not impressed with it. I just think it's cool though. It's like a rainbow finish, kind of brownish color. Anyhow, the rest are inside are kind of just a mauve color, variations on that. So I really love this combo. Now, anyhow, so these were actually, well, not that one, but the other 2 were kind of rejects from another arrangement. That sounds horrible. They're not really rejects. I love them all. So today we're gonna do a 3, one with one of my favorite kind of particular sets, I guess, color sets. I don't know what to call them. I gotta warn you, I kind of taught myself most of this stuff, so I don't really know the words. Like my patterns look like this, you know, they're just, well, I'm not a pro, but I am a teacher in my other life, not of this. So I think I'm a relatively good explainer. So we're going to start with these today. I like these. These are, I think they're Matsuno. All of them, actually, because that's what my bead supplier gets. But I buy other beads from other places. Now, there's a lot of shine on this right now, but there's this sort of, now she gives them her own names and they don't really have anything to do with the actual, I don't know what the actual names are. So I'm just going to say, this is one of my favorite colors. It's like a turquoise with a topaz on the outside. I just love the way it looks. That's the one that's in the bead spinner right now. It just looks like, I don't know, like old turquoise to me, like old turquoise jewelry with a topaz on the outside. I just love it. And then there is a teal with a topaz cover, and then a turquoise with a topaz cover. Now these, and then there's a shimmering, what she calls shimmering gold aqua. And that's gonna be our center. It's dramatic for the center. But still all in the same color palette. I guess that's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for things that stay in the same kind of color palette. You don't have to though, go wacky with it. What the heck? It's just my weird thing. I like to keep everything, I like to keep the color palette sort of graded. This one's actually closer than I should be doing for a demo. I was actually gonna do a seafoam one, but I thought this would be brighter for the camera. So we're gonna give it a try. Now, so we're gonna start, and so I always kind of look at them in tubes. That's why I like to have things in tubes so I can pick out what my color story is gonna be. So this is gonna be the outer, and then these are that's gonna be the very inner side. So I don't need actually much for the inner. You're gonna need a lot for the outer because you're doing all of these beads, right? So you're doing all of these, all this outside, which maybe doesn't actually look like that much, but when I add it up on my design, on my pattern, it ends up being 148 inches of beads, which is 12 feet and 4 inches of beads for the outer one. So you're really gonna have to string that. So I always start with at least 2 tubes of that color in my spinner and get going with it. So we're gonna talk about the first one. So I'm not gonna make you watch me do 12 feet of beads because that would just be mean. But the way I get through it fast, because 12 feet, holy cow. And now again, if you don't wanna do 12 feet at a time, do 6 feet and do it in 2 segments, whatever. I just like to have it all done in one. Like I do these each as individual units. Oh, you probably can't see that. I just realized. So this is my lovely pattern we're following. And I do each, so this is color 1, 2, 3, and 4 going outside to inside. And even though there's only 3 different sizes of continuous loops, these are all continuous loops, every single bit of it. It's so easy and they end up looking so cool. I still make these, I don't care. They're meditative almost, even though I'm trying to do fancy things sometimes now, and since I've been doing it for a while, I always come back to these because they just look cool. If you want to do a fast gift for someone, you could whip one of these little flowers up in, a couple hours, and they're going to think it looks cool as heck. And yeah, you got a little present. What the heck? Make a little bouquet of them. Couple minutes, whatever. Okay, couple hours, let's be honest. But this is one where you literally can sit in front of a TV or at your little table and it's very meditative, very repetitive, like what I'm saying right now. So we're gonna start with this one. So it ends up being 148 inches. So of all these combined, because we're gonna do 16 5-inch continuous loops, 8 4.5-inch continuous loops, 8 4-inch continuous loops. Now again, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Everyone's got a mum pattern, especially a spider mum pattern. This is mine. This is my ratio. I like it because it turns out looking like the flower I want it to look like. And I'll be honest, none of the other ones quite did. They did their own thing and they look awesome. They just weren't what I was aiming for. So again, I was going for that Japanese watercolor kind of look. So that's what we're doing first. And so one quick way I figure out how to do, I like to spin, and I think I spin backwards, I realized the other day, but I'm not sure. So, I take out you can just use silver. I've accumulated a few due to being a little bit uptight about matching a lot of different wires over the last few years since I started. Since I figured out that there were different wires, I actually spent a few months because, again, I wasn't really following anyone's pattern or communicating with anyone, so I thought pretty much it just was silver wire. So I'm going to be using actually Kelly Green. it doesn't really even look like Kelly green. Look at that. It looks like aqua kind of. So for this one, I'm going to use 24 gauge to Kelly green. Now, I like to use for the outer 2 units, the outer 2 segments, groups, whatever you want to call them, colors 1 and 2. I like to use 24 gauge. It's a little rougher to turn, but to spin or to twist at the bottom, but you can really shape those outer ones, and obviously that's what I'm looking for my things. And I tend to send my flowers out in the world without me being near them. So I want them to be as sturdy as possible. So I'm going with 24 gauge, even though it's a rough twist on the bottom. And then as you get into the inside, you can switch over to 26 gauge, especially for the very inner one. Of course, you actually should. The third color, it's your prerogative. So the way, though, I'm going to show you really quick that I kind of count is I set out a big hook, because this one's a very sturdy wire. And so I know that if I fill this one up with enough, you know, so I'm going to fill it up all the way down to my finger. So if I fill that up to my finger, that's about 4 inches on the dot. Imagine that. 4 inches on the dot. So I'm going to do 36 of those. I'm going to count to 36 and fill these up, and then maybe do 1 or 2 extra just for good luck. Just in case things go over. Because 36 of these would be 148 inches, about what I'm looking for. So that's what I'm going to do, 4 of those. And so I did. I loaded it up, and it's 12 feet long. It's a lot of beads. And it's a lot of beads. But again, that's how I count. I know where I'm at. So I'm going to do like 36, 38 full scoops of them. You know, and if you only get half because a bead gets stuck on the end because it's like, you know, a reject bead and you have to pull it, you know, you just round up or round down, whatever. But you're aiming for about 36, 38 4-inch scoops. And so it takes a little bit. But the good news is for colors 2, 3, and 4, it doesn't take as long. So I'm going to show you real fast. Now, these are just, it's all continuous loops. So you can keep a little ruler next to you. You can also do it by bead count, because if you do want to do it in front of the like TV or whatever, and you don't want to have a ruler on your lap or on your coffee table, you can do it by bead count. And that will depend on the bead. So you might want to do a 5-inch thing, but then counting out 5 inches of beads is kind of a pain in the neck. So we're going to chop it off at 5 inches. And we want these to be sturdy. So I tend to do maybe 4 twists on the bottom. And now, this is going to be the longest one, which means this is going to be my tail end, which means this is going to be the one that I end up wrapping at the very bottom. So I want to give myself a lot of extra wrapping. So I'm going to give maybe, you know, I don't know, let's measure how much that is. That's about 7.5, 7 inches on the end here. And that again is because once I get these segments, once I'm assembling, this piece is going to be the very last thing that wraps around the stem wire. And so I want to have a lot of wrapping, because these things require, there's a lot of heavy beads. So we take this, and then we're just going to make our continuous loop. And you want it to be tight, because you don't want your beads to show you know, gaps when they do that. So the way I do it is always hold my thumb, push it up inside here, and then twist this top, and I'm pushing my thumb in there. Again, you can see how it's like pulling down onto my thumb there. You can see how much it's pushing. Don't be scared of my hands. I'm actually younger than my hands look. I have kind of messed up hands. Had them since childhood, and so I'm used to them. But then sometimes my students are like, wow, your hands look so old, and you don't look so old. Well, you know, what are you going to do? So I do about 4 like 180-degree twists, because I want a big base on this. I don't want it huge, but about that much, right? Again, this is not your professional video, so if you can see it, I hope so. But basically, it's about 1/8 of an inch of twisting, right? So 3 or 4 good twists. And then I'm going to bring it together, and I like them to be really close together and to have just 1 bead at top. And in fact, when we do it by bead count, I always do odd bead counts so that you can have 1 bead right at the top. And then I'm going to squish it down. I'm going to get it real close down. And I'm going to be honest and kind of do a little shake with it, which gets them, you do this little jiggle, and that actually gets them lined up with each other. So these are just little weirdo things that I've kind of learned along the way that probably people do, but they never write about. I don't know, or it's put in their videos. I'll be honest, I'm not really good at watching the videos. I watch like the beginning, and I'm like, it looks cool, and then I can't concentrate anymore. which is ironic because I'm making one right now. Anyhow, so see how that's really flattened together? And later on, you're going to be bending them. And I pre-bend them before I wrap, even though that doesn't always help because the wrapping can kind of do its own thing with it. But it's just kind of good to kind of keep track, you know, kind of do a little curve on them. I don't know why I do that. I just think it looks cool, actually. Probably don't have to do that in any way. And see how, again, I like to have just one bead up top. I don't like it to have the bare wire and be cut across. Well, I don't want to mess this one up. I'll show you on the next one. So again, I'm just going to do, and you're going to do 16 of these, right? And so you're pulling up 5 inches of bead, and you want to give yourself a lot of lead wire because they also eat through a lot of it. And you're going to have to, with 12 inches, it's kind of a pain to have to keep moving it up. So chop it off at 5 inches, and you're going to do 16 of these. Now, and you're going to space them out. I am not going to make you watch me do 16 of them. You're going to space them out about 1/4 of an inch right there. If you can see, I'm spacing out with my finger. I hold my finger there, about 1/4 of an inch, and then I pinch with that so it stays at 1/4 of an inch. And again, I have kind of weird hands, so you have to kind of put up with it. I can't always like let go of things and show you. That's why I'm kind of talking through it. And then I'm going to bring this around, right? So it's just right underneath it. I bring that under because then I'm going to do a towards me twist. And again, I'm pinching, holding it tight with my thumb under here so that 2, 3, 4, I might have even done 5 on that one. Not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. So here's what I'm talking about. I don't want to crease it, but like, let's suppose, I don't like them when they have that so that you see wire at the very top. I like when there's just a single bead. Now that's, again, me doing my uptight thing. You do not have to be that uptight. It probably doesn't even matter. I just like the ends of each petal to actually have a bead on them. And you want to get them tight. And sometimes I'll bring in vinyl, where did I put them? My vinyl thing, my vinyl covered blunt pliers and kind of tip them together. But to be honest, I'm not ashamed to admit it. Sometimes I bite them. I just use my teeth right there. Is that weird? That's weird. It's a little bit weird. But I like it to be tight. There we go. See? Look how nice that is. A little bit of tamping down with the teeth. I'm not a pro. I never claimed to be. So, you know, and like I said, I kind of figured out stuff as I went on my own, and and sometimes I bite my beads. Don't bite them hard. I haven't had one break until the other day. The very first time one broke when I was biting it. But it was a baby one. So anyhow, a really tiny one. So that's basically what you're going to do. You're going to do 16 5-inch continuous loops. And so I will show you that with will not make you sit through it. I'm going to do it on time lapse.